Таджахал, ни хао, здравствуйте, привет, як там, hello, karate, salve, welcome. New week, new semester, we're back to school. What's it like and what will we do? Some useful resources, the last of the Australian videos, and the September 3rd parade is over, back to normal, at least until the National Day week begins. Folks, this is episode number 55 of the Language Log Podcast. My name is Steven. Let's get to it. All right, and we begin episode number 55 of the Language Log Podcast. My name is Steven, and welcome. If this is your first episode, welcome along. This podcast is sort of a complement to the YouTube channel that I keep that sort of tracks some of my own language progress and some of the things I've learned about not just learning languages in general, but also some of the things that I tell my own students, and then also some snippets about what it's like to live overseas. I am currently based in Beijing, China, and this week has been kind of busy for me, but also very busy for the city, as they have marked the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. And as a result, they had a massive military parade through the center of the city. So they shut down large chunks of the central districts of Beijing. We're talking like between Forbidden City and Tiananmen Square, of course, but even east to west, we're talking like they had to move all this military equipment from one side to the other and then off of the main roads. So it's kind of caused a bit of a traffic hassle. I was kind of a little bit dismayed to find out that I wasn't going to be able to see the planes fly over. As I mentioned last semester, so a couple months ago during the semester, I mentioned that a lot of airplanes fly over the university that I work at, and that has often caused some problems in class because I can't hear the students when they speak. And these airplanes, these really loud airplanes would fly over top, but they haven't been over this week. I kind of thought that maybe this airport that's next to the university would be one of the places that they either launch or land some of the aircraft, but I guess I'm mistaken. I think the type of airport that's beside me is a cargo airport or like a regional airport. It's not meant for military aircraft or anything. I think those are further in the northeast of Beijing. I can't remember. Beijing has 3, 4, 5 different airports. The two that you probably know are Shoudu, so Capital International, and then also Daxing. Daxing is another, the massive one that just opened up a couple of years ago. But other than that, there are a few regional airports near Beijing, and then, of course, the military airport nearby in the northeast of the city. And as I mentioned in last episode, they had a preparation day a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday at 10 o'clock that they flew all of these, I guess it was last week, they flew all of these airplanes, the helicopters, the bombers, the fighter jets, the reconnaissance craft and everything. It was kind of neat to see, and I was kind of hoping that I'd be able to see them again because it doesn't happen very often. They only put these parades, these military parades on every 5 to 10 years. So as you know, it's a sort of a unique moment to witness, and that's where I thought that, they're airplanes, so they're going to have to circle off somewhere, and maybe we'd see them fly back and land, or at least fly over this part of the city. But as I also mentioned last week, I was here for one of the first types of parades like this back in 2015, and we didn't see anything in Haidian district. So seeing it in Changping, even less likely. And I asked the students, like, are we going to be able to see any of these airplanes? They're like, nah, it's going to happen all downtown. We're not going to even hear anything. That being said, I think we did hear the rumbles of some of the airplanes, but we didn't see anything. It was just gray skies where we were, sadly. So, oh well, if I'm still here in another 5 or 10 years, quite possibly I'll be able to see the next iteration, the next big military parade, which they seem to be doing this every 5 to 10 years anyway. And so chances are, if you're in the city, again, as I mentioned last week, and I also have published a video recently, which I'll talk about very quickly, Now, again, you can't see this in person. You can watch from a distance. In order to get into Tiananmen Square, you kind of have to be part of the chosen few. They kind of vet who goes into the parade area. They don't just let anyone show up. It's all blocked off. It's all highly coordinated. So it's not something that you can just come to Beijing for and pop on in and say, hey, that's kind of neat, take some pictures. It just doesn't work that way, sadly. But now that that parade is over, again, I have posted one video about this. It was a YouTube short a couple weeks ago that showed the different aircraft that were flying over Beijing at the time. Just today, actually, I'm shooting this on a Wednesday due to a bit of a delay getting things set up. But I'm literally today there will be another video that is published that shows a walkthrough of Guomao as it was on the weekend. Now, there wasn't all that much different on the weekend, but this video kind of explains in a little bit more detail some of the things that are going to go on and some of the blockages that are going to happen throughout the city. But now that I'm recording this podcast after the parade is over, they're tearing down all of those parade items, the barriers downtown, the street closures all over. By tonight, roughly around 6 p.m. or so, things should be opening and moving again. However, I think at Tiananmen Square, they're still going to have the 80th anniversary memorial or the 80th anniversary, what do you call it, memorabilia. They'll have a display, I guess is the best way to put it. An 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, World War II. So they have a little setup, like a little flower display, some big signs and everything in Tiananmen Square. Those might still stand for another few weeks, especially since National Day, October 1st, is only a couple weeks away. Now, September 3rd, over, but the next big celebration will be National Day. Will they have another military parade? No, I don't think they will. I think now that they've run the military through once, the National Day parade maybe they'll do something at Tiananmen Square, but I don't think it will be as big of a military display as it was just today. There were quite a few world leaders in town as well, but I guess it also coincided, for some reason, Beijing was hosting a Shanghai business conference, I think it was. So there were a lot of business leaders in town for that as well. But I think National Day will be a week of rest. I think already my students are asking me to reschedule classes so that they can get their trains or planes a little bit earlier in the day rather than fighting some of the crowds. It's going to be insane. National Day and Spring Festival are two times that you do not, if you don't have to travel, you shouldn't. You just don't want to. You should be staying at home for those 2 weeks. I think National Day celebrations will be a little bit more subdued or a little bit more tamed. There won't be another military parade just yet. And with that, we begin the semester. So we are back. One of the reasons why this episode is delayed in getting out is because typically I shoot this on a Monday, but I just received my schedule like this past weekend, and I had class at 8 o'clock on Monday morning. Then I had about a 5-hour break, and then another class at 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. And that kind of meant that my normal shooting day, production day, was sort of interrupted. Not a problem. I can work with this. The other thing I was kind of thinking was that I would shoot this episode outside because the weather's still kind of nice, and I'm going, it'd be a nice little background or backdrop or scenery to take a video in. And then I remembered why I wouldn't do that. Mosquitoes. So that sort of quelled the idea that I would be sitting outside under the oak tree, the maple tree, or whatever tree it is, doing my typical episodic pontificating. Mosquitoes, heat and humidity, and aphids. So I was like, all right, well, I'll find a classroom. And so now I'm sitting in a classroom I've never been in before. It's in the main building on the 3rd floor. And this classroom has 5 screens in it. I've never been in a classroom like this. It basically has a smart TV screen or smart screen up at the front. You plug in your USB drive there, and then you can do the whole touch screen thing, and all the changes are reflected on each of the screens around the classroom. All the screens look into the classroom, but all of the desks are sort of huddled in the middle. It's very different from the normal classroom that I have. I like the smart screen, the touch screen interface. That makes my life a whole lot easier rather than standing behind a computer desk using a keyboard and a mouse. At the same time, actually, you know what? I'm thinking about this now. I think I like this classroom better because I'm able to move around a lot more. I'm able to use the touch screen, and the students are able to hear me a lot clearer. The only problem is that it's kind of small. So here I had 25 students in the classroom today, and they were sort of really close to each other, which isn't such a problem, but it doesn't leave a lot of room, especially by the doors, for people to come and go sort of thing. And I do occupy quite a bit of the center stage, I guess is the best way to put it, since a lot of students, as they sit farther back from the instructor. I don't really have a problem with this. Some teachers try to push them forward. I figure, why fight it? Let them do what they got to do, and I'll just pace around the classroom until I get tired. But we are back. Are there any changes on campus? I can't say that there are too many changes. Let's see. The guards are pretty much the same. The food is kind of the same. The one big change that I've seen this semester, and that's not a big change at all, it's a small change, is the new food disposal area in the cafeteria. So one of the things that they do in this cafeteria, the student cafeteria, you go get your food, it's put on a tray, a plastic tray or a metal tray, and then you take that tray when you're finished and you drop your spoons into one bucket, your kwaidza, your chopsticks, into another bucket, the food waste goes into another bucket, and then you give the tray to one of the workers. Now, last semester, it was an open air sort of setup. This semester, they have what I can only describe as like a proper kiosk, that they've gone from a single or a couple of steel bins to put the trays and the different food detritus and stuff like that in there, and now they have like what I would only consider to be a kiosk, a wheeled kiosk that has a window that separates me from the worker, and then under that window is a little sort of area, like a little countertop, and then under that countertop is where all the disposal bins are. Again, spoons, chopsticks, food, and then the trays go another place as well. So that's the only big change that I've seen on campus. Other than that, the shops seem to be the same. The Cootie Coffee is still there. Cotty Coffee, the coffee shop, still there. The bake shop that I used to go to last semester, still there. But they did not have the cookies that I normally get, so I had to get a different type. Even the pastry lady recognized me, and she's like, yeah, we don't have the ones that you like. So maybe next time. And she didn't know if the bake shop would continue to have them later on, or if they had been taken out of rotation. Oh, well. What are we doing this semester? This semester ups the game a little bit for all of the students, in that they are now asked and tasked with the responsibility or the requirements to do referencing. I recall when I first taught this style of course, this university level essay writing, argumentative essays, some of the issues that the students often had was all about citations. Now, if you're not familiar with citations, which I'm guessing if you are listening to this podcast, you might already have been through university, or at least have some exposure to university level education or tuition. Citations are the way that you refer to a secondary source or another source, people's words who that aren't your own. For example, a newspaper article, a book, a website even. So you have to include some information in your reference list at the end of your essay. And when you are referring to that list or to that work, you have to refer to it in the essay. So you can't just take words and use them in the essay without proper credit. That's where you get in trouble with plagiarism. Now, the university does have a plagiarism policy. As we all know, with the development of technology, AI has sort of taken over. Sidestepping that, I have encouraged the students to not use AI to write their essays, and instead practice referring and citing other people's works. So these citations is a bit new to them because they haven't really done this before. We briefly touched on it at the end of last semester. And again, in your reference, so your reference list or your works cited list has to have some information in it. The author, the title, the year, the publisher, the pages that you looked at. And then within the essay itself, you also have to create what are called in-text citations. And these can cause some issues for students because they don't always understand what information is necessary, even though the example, it's pretty hard to make a mistake with the example. Not only that, my issue as a teacher is that I see these students, I'm talking to them, and I'm pointing to these things on the board and in the book, but then when they hand in their essays, there are some errors. And I go, what are you seeing? What are you not understanding about the concept of citations, of referencing other people's works and words? And for them, sometimes I wouldn't say it's laziness. Sometimes it's, what would you say? They're in a hurry because they put it up. Procrastination. That's the word I'm looking for. If they procrastinate and put off doing their essay, then when they finally get around to doing the essay, they rush through it and they don't check all the information, making sure that it's correct. Not only that, in terms of compiling the references, luckily and thankfully, the university is actually giving them resources to use. So they don't have to find any resources, which this is what we did the first time. It's what the department did the first time I remember teaching this course for a different university. The students were tasked to find their own sources, and that caused so many issues, so many problems. They didn't know what a source was, what a good source was, and what a bad source was. For example, Baidu is not a source. Wikipedia, not a resource. Wikipedia is a good example of how to use resources, but it itself should not be a resource in your essay. So with all that in mind, this university has decided, well, we're going to have them write an argumentative essay, we'll give them the resources, and we just want them to practice the act of citing, of creating these in-text citations. Good. It takes away at least one headache from me, but it also kind of means that how am I going to make sure that they do this properly? And I'm not going to lie, if they hand it in and it's wrong, I'm going to look at them and go, how can it be wrong when it's right there? The example is right there. So maybe it just comes down to drilling it into their minds that an in-text citation often includes a name, a year, and a page number, typically. The other thing about argumentative essays that can be a problem, and we just talked about it in today's class, is the difference between an opinion and a fact. And I don't know about you, but if you've ever been in an argument or like a conversation, it doesn't have to be a bad argument, but a conversation wherein someone is very much, they're giving you an opinion and it seems like they're giving you facts, but there's no real substance behind those facts. For example, like as we all know, 72% of people prefer having online classes rather than in-person classes. Okay, where did you get that number from, 72%? So in a casual conversation, I think the running joke is that in a casual conversation, throw out a number. Just give a statistic, give a percentage. And generally that gives more weight to your argument than if you didn't have a number. Well, most people prefer online. Imagine this. Have you heard this type of argument before? I just read an article where it said 72% of people prefer online classes. I can't remember where I read it, but 72%, I remember them saying they preferred online classes because it was just so much more convenient. You see how convincing that is when you say, I can't remember the article, but it said something along the lines of, well, what do you mean it said something along the lines of? What were those lines? And this is where in this argumentative essay that these students have to write this semester, it's all going to be about. You can't just say, I read an article somewhere, I can't remember where, but it said. No, that's no good. You have to give the actual citation, the actual reference information, so someone else can go look it up. Now, again, this semester, they don't have to find any new resources. It's all given to them. Thankfully, that takes away one headache. But on the other hand, they're still going to have to learn the difference between having an opinion and having facts that support their opinions. So even today, we were going through thesis statements, which is an opinion. Basically, you give your side of the argument, and then to support your thesis statement, you need different supporting details. This semester, the supporting details are no longer some people say or research shows. I told them, if you use those words, research shows, you have to show what research tells you that. All in all, it should be a fun few months for the students and myself. I haven't taught argumentative essays in a while. One exercise, the university does give me quite a few of the PowerPoints already, so it's all sort of prepared, and I just have to show up and kind of go through them. But I find with the argumentative essays, These are very good times to engage in debates and to split the class up, whether it's pair work, group work, or whatever, and have them debate each other. I like to tell them, an argument doesn't mean that you just stand up and shout, "You're wrong and I'm right." That's not an argument. An argument is simply a debate with words, and that you're supporting your opinion with different facts and resources, rather than just saying, "Oh, well, I read an article. I can't remember where." You're actually citing the article, the page number, etc. But in addition to these essays, this is a good time to get the students pairing off or into group work and working on different topics to debate. This leads to very good class interaction. And not only that, I have some things I want to get rid of. I have a bunch of pins and little trinkets and toys that I've kind of collected over the years that I really don't need anymore. And it's not that they're all in shambles, but I'm thinking, what do I need this stuff for? What if I gave it away as prizes? So I'm doing that. So part of this semester, my goal is to get them debating and arguing and doing little topics in class so I can get rid of some of the stuff in my apartment. Again, it's just like little trinkets, little pins that I've picked up from my travels and stuff like that. I figure instead of them accumulating dust in my apartment, give them away as prizes, makes them smile a little bit, even if it's like some of the most useless stuff you'll ever find. It's just something to, hey, I did good in that class, relatively speaking. That's your opinion. There's one other thing about the argumentative essay and the argumentative process that can be a little bit challenging, is that when people ask you what is a good argument or what is a good facts or good opinions to hold, and I'll tell you, the more that you think about something, the more you can be persuaded that it is whatever it is. By that, I mean, if someone's giving an obvious opinion and substantiating it with some sort of claims, you can't really refute it in person, but there's something wrong with the argument and you don't know what. Again, with these students, it's not so much the accuracy of their argument, it's more the practice and the process of going through, looking at these resources, looking at whether or not it's a good resource, taking the information, copying or paraphrasing the information from that source and putting it into the essay properly and doing proper in-text citations and building that reference list. So it's at these times where you have to remember they might have some interesting arguments, but at the end of the day, it's not necessarily a knowledge test about the argument. It's a knowledge test on the structure and the creation of and the documenting of resources and references throughout the essay. It's at this point in the podcast that I'd have to say that if you are going back to school or starting again, either you are going to school or starting a new semester and you need any resources, there are 4 resources that I thought were kind of neat that I'll mention, and I'll put them in the show notes for this episode. Number 1, Goodnotes 6. This is kind of like a notepad application for, and I use it for Apple for the iPad, but I think it's also available for Android. But I found this application to be very good. There is a free version. I paid for it. It was like $15 for the year, much cheaper than other writing applications out there like Craft or Ulysses. Very good, very flexible, better than Freeform, better than standard note app and everything on the iOS. But Goodnotes 6 I found was very useful. The other app that I found very useful was Local Send. And I use this because if you have an Android phone or an Apple phone, but then a PC computer or whatever combination it is, Android to Mac can be very difficult. AirDrop is a godsend. It doesn't always work, but getting a file from an Apple device to an Android device, Local Send can do that. You do need to download it on both systems, but once you have that, very easy to set up, and I highly recommend it. So if you have an Android device or an Apple device and you're doing cross-platform file sharing, Local Send is a good app for you to check out. Next, a free transcription piece of software based out of Beijing, ViiTor Translate, ViiTor Translate. It is free, and I found this very good because this is what we were using in Australia to transcribe the free walking tour that we were on in Melbourne. A lot of my students use this app or something like it in class. It has me a little bit worried that I have to watch what I say in class. Before, I guess there was a bit more of a safe space to challenge opinions a little bit more. But now there is a transcribed record of the things that I said. Not just the words, like the text, it's the audio. It records the audio as well. But I guess in the day and age of AI, and I'm looking around the classroom right now, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 cameras looking at me right now. They're not looking directly at me, but these classrooms have a lot of cameras on them. And we're talking, I'm not sure if it's just video recording and audio recording, but the fact that it's all there. Should I be worried? Should I be concerned that students are using transcription software in class? To tell you the truth, I would almost like to have some of these recorded, because in 10 years, it'd be kind of neat to revisit once again what I was like in that time, even if it's kind of cringeworthy sometimes. Like, wow, Stephen, you really botched that explanation of how to use a citation. Try again, my friend. Good thing you have another class. So we've got Goodnotes 6, Local Send, ViiTor Translate, and the last one that I've heard about, I have not used myself, Y2Doc. And this one I thought was very good, and I'll tell you, is one of the reasons that I actually publish this podcast, because this podcast serves as a bit of, not just for me to talk about some of the things that are going on and some of the aspects of living overseas or my own struggles learning languages, but also I want it to act as a piece of content for people who are studying the English language. Now, why would I do that? One of the reasons is because I know that I, as an instructor, often run into the problem of finding good materials, and trying to create materials can take a lot of time. Finding good materials that are already created can take equally as long. So I figured, instead of relying on someone else to do this, I would just do it myself and make the podcast, a quasi-educational source. Quasi meaning it can be an educational source, and the other part of it being, well, it can just be a standalone podcast, a standalone piece of entertainment as well for people who are not studying the English language. Y2Doc takes YouTube videos. You take the link, you pop it into y2doc.com, and it will give you a summary of that video. And I figured this would be great for people. I publish all of these podcasts onto YouTube. They are an unlisted playlist, but you can grab the link, you can put it into Y2Doc, and it will create a summary. And then you can also, I think it also creates a transcript of the entire video, which is one of the reasons why for the membership program for this podcast, I do offer the transcripts, but those are my transcripts. Those are the ones that I go through and edit. The ones that are generated by Descript.com or Y2Doc, those are AI generated, and I can't vouch for whether or not they are accurate in their spelling or in the words that they're using as well. So they can be a little bit tricky. Same with Apple Podcasts. Apple Podcasts, I think, is a little bit better for the transcription rather than YouTube. But if you just need a summary and a quick sort of look through something that you want to glance through, Y2Doc seems to be a very good website to use. And again, it's free. You can use it with YouTube, and you can summarize these podcasts very quickly. Just find the unlisted playlist link, drop it into Y2Doc, and you're good to go. So Goodnotes 6, Local Send, ViiTor Translate, and Y2Doc are the 4 applications that I found very useful. And if you're starting back at school, or if you're just trying to be a little bit more productive, I found that those applications have been very useful. I'm not sponsored by any of them. I don't have affiliate codes for any of these. Maybe I should, but you can check them out. I'll have them in the show notes for this episode. And finally, the last of the Australian videos. I already mentioned that I am publishing one video about walking through Beijing, but also the last Australian vlog video will be published this week, and that will complete our Australian vlog series. It's taken 2 months to get through. I did not expect it to take that long, and certainly the next trip, I'll be a little bit better prepared and a whole lot more organized in terms of making sure that I can get the videos out a little bit faster than 2 months later. But it's at this point I do have to point out, at least we did it, because the other trips we've taken, we haven't published about. So this one is a success in that regard, in that we actually did get through all the videos that we intended to publish, and finally they will all be published and up on the YouTube channel at Stevens Language Vlog if you want to take a look. And finally, if you haven't had a chance already and you're looking for a little bit of a inspiration to continue on with your own studies, I published my last language progress check for the Mandarin Chinese language last week. It's up on the YouTube channel. It's I think it's August 20th, and it's all in Chinese, but it's the first video that we have spent time editing the entire video, and it actually had me thinking, this video has me stuck in my old habits. And by old habits, I mean, I'm talking about the process of learning Chinese. I'm not using Chinese to talk about something that Chinese people would be interested in. So now I have to start thinking, well, what would Chinese speakers or Chinese listeners want to hear on a language vlog podcast? Would they want to learn about different languages or different study methods? Possibly I could do that. Would they want to learn about, they don't want tours of China, according to foreigners. They do want tours of foreign places like Canada, Australia. That would have worked as well. But to walk around Beijing speaking Chinese, unless I was interacting with the locals a lot, I'm not sure if they'd be really interested in that. I'm not sure if I'm interested in that. So this is going to be a new challenge, creating content, creating ideas, brainstorming ideas that I can shoot in Mandarin Chinese, and of course, editing them as well and posting them to the YouTube channel. I am still sort of debating whether or not I'd want to start a separate Chinese channel. In addition to that, I was thinking about starting a separate ESL channel as well, more specific, more targeted towards English as a second language tuition, so people who are learning English as a second language, rather than the main channel, which is the language vlog that I publish to most often. But as this last week has shown, working a full-time job and trying to do outreach and record podcasts and edit videos takes a lot of time. All right, and with that, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. I know this is a little bit of a shorter episode, but I hope you got something out of there. We talked a little bit about the university semester that we're going into, some study resources as well, some useful tools, a little bit of the Australian videos that are about to come out, and finally the September 3rd parade, which is now done and over with here in Beijing, China. Although I did publish a language progress check last week, I will admit I have been letting my languages suffer a little bit, slip a little bit. There is one new word, 学yuan hao, is the study building number. And I see already that I've written it down wrong in my show notes. I have the wrong hao. 学yuan hao is the study building number. Study being like you're studying, building as the place that you are, and just the number of, so it's number 4, number 6, etc. So I am still learning Mandarin Chinese each and every day that I walk through campus. And with that, questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, please do get in touch through email or on the YouTube channel. Check it out. Drop a comment underneath one of the YouTube videos. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. It's free. It's once a week. I send it out. You can also head on over to buymeacoffee.com/StevensLanguageVlog. There are some study resources over there as well. Some free stuff, some paid stuff as well. You can join the membership program and support the podcast as we continue going. And with that, folks, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. We'll leave it there. Good luck with your studies. Good luck to back to school. Good luck with the end of vacation. I know Labor Day was in North America, and it's all over now. Now you're basically studying until Thanksgiving Day, which is October in Canada, November in the United States, and then Christmas after that. But that's 3 or 4 months away already. Is it a lifetime away, or at least it seems like it's so far away, but how long will it actually take for those 3 months to transpire? Time flies, I tells you, especially when you're having fun. And I am having fun, and I hope you're having fun too. If you need any help with your language studies, please do get in touch. I'd be happy to help. Hope you're well. Thanks again. Bye-bye.